There's a reason that young voters who are becoming more and more active with each election are not identifying with our party. And that's because young voters are underrepresented by our party in Congress. Hi, I'm Campbell. I'm a healthcare litigation attorney living in Rockwall, Texas, and I want to represent the people of the 4th Congressional District. My ties to the Congressional District are that first, I live in the district. I live in a 110-year-old house just off of downtown Rockwall. I was raised just down the road in Garland, Texas, where I graduated in the class of 2000 from Garland High School. My father, Terry Bob Campbell, he was born and raised in Greenville and Sulphur Springs, Texas, and I spent my childhood going to those towns with him, spending time with family. I threw out my arm at the Hunt County Fair, throwing balls at the dunking booth. I've walked miles with my grandpa at Crossroads Mall where he'd go for exercise. My family comes from this district. My roots run deep in this district. I know these good people. What qualifies me for this seat is that I've spent my adult life studying the role of government, policy development, and as a lawyer, legislative implementation of that policy. I went to Texas A&M University, where I got my bachelor's degree in political science from the George H.W. Bush School of Government and Public Policy. While there, I interned in Congress for Congressman Sam Johnson in his DC office. I got to see firsthand how he, one of the most well-respected Republican congressmen that we've ever had, how he went through the legislative process, how he developed policy. After leaving A&M, I went to Georgetown University in DC, where I participated in the Fund for American Studies program, which is the education arm of a conservative think tank in DC. During law school, I was able to attend an intimate education program with Justice Scalia as the professor. I was able to get one-on-one experience with him of how he thinks through the Constitution. Learning the Constitution and interpreting it with the original intent that the author had when they wrote it is the most important thing. In 2004, I worked for the Koch Industries Government Affairs Office, helping develop market-based economic policies that Congress could implement. I've seen how that process is done, and I've studied market-based economics at a macro and micro level. With that background, I have deeply held conservative beliefs of lower taxes, smaller government, limited spending, and using conservative policies in order to establish and complete those goals. Running a small business, I know how hard taxes and Obamacare has hit this country's bottom line. I want to fix that. What we know from history is that big government is inefficient and expensive. Tragically, an example of that is our VA health system. Our vets who fought for our country deserve to have the best, but they're not getting it. And that's because big government and government-funded programs are inefficient. I'm a Republican because I want the best for Americans. My dad instilled in me at a really young age that being a Republican isn't easy. It's much more difficult than the liberal theories of government. Because if you are going to be a Republican and you want smaller government, lower taxes, fewer tax-funded programs, then you have an individual obligation to fill those voids by doing your community service. The types of things that I've done in the community include in high school, as a teenager, raising more money for March of Dimes with my classmates than anyone else in the country. In college, I did Best Buddies, which pairs college kids up with people with special needs in the community, and you mentor them and help with social development. I have done food drives, hurricane disaster relief down in Houston, and for the last 6 years, I've done Big Brothers, Big Sisters, where I've been matched up as a big brother to my little brother, who I'm exceptionally proud of because he's leaving in the fall for a full scholarship to college. As a Republican, I have an obligation in order to help my community because I know it's not the government's role. That's why I've been so passionate about doing things for my community. My pet peeves about current politics are the empty gestures of politicians. If the recent protests that we've seen people in public doing mass protests of kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, sending a message of protest. And when I turned on the TV and I saw Nancy Pelosi and the other Democratic members of Congress doing a similar gesture, it's infuriating because people, when they protest, they're sending the message to Congress. Who are they sending a message to? Who's Congress kneeling for? They need to get off their knees and get to work. If they want a change, they're the ones that need to make it. The precinct chairs of CD4 have a very unique opportunity here. They have the chance to invest in the future of not only the country, but also our party. It's no secret that younger voters don't relate to the Republican Party very well. And that's because younger voters are underrepresented in our party in Congress. And this is the precinct chair's opportunity to put someone who shares those ideals of small government, limited spending, lower taxes, but also can relate and communicate with those more active younger voters. With all due respect to the other candidates, and I do respect them, but I listened to them speak, and I didn't decide to run until after I heard them out and looked into their background. And if I'd been inspired by their presentation or their background, then I wouldn't be here right now. The person who takes this seat needs to have the skills necessary in order to go toe-to-toe against our opponents in Congress. I've spent the last 10 years doing just that against some of the best and brightest that our country has to offer. I've cross-examined literal brain surgeons on brain surgery and pointed out how they're wrong on their own turf. That's a skill that can only be refined by getting in the fire and doing it. If you want someone who has developed the skills and the tools necessary for pointing out the absurdities of the positions of people like Pelosi and Schumer, I'm the person who has spent a decade developing the weapons in order to do that. Right now is the perfect time for CD4 to lead the party's investment into the future. And I ask that you consider me as a candidate to fill the seat.